If I could only give one advice to freshmen, that would be to get an iPad. The iPad will change your entire university experience. In fact, I don't even know how I would have survived without my baby over here. Alright, so this video will be split into 3 sections. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the benefits of having an iPad, followed by addressing some of the concerns that you guys might have, and then end off by recommending which iPad you should get. This video will be timestamped, so feel free to jump around to any parts you like. So the first point is the most obvious, convenience. In uni, all the notes provided to you are digital copies. No longer will they provide you with physical copies. And while it's possible to print them out, I find it very difficult to do your readings on a laptop, and even much more troublesome to go and print them out every single time. Like, I don't know about you, I feel that I cannot really absorb it when I do my readings on a laptop. But if I do it on my iPad instead, as you can see, I can just easily highlight and annotate. Right, and especially for my econs, we have to do a lot of math, and sometimes you have to write math equations and draw graphs, and all this is quite difficult to do on a laptop. Also, having the iPad makes traveling much easier, because now you just have to bring your iPad to school instead of carrying your heavy laptop or the different notes and textbooks. And because everything is stored inside your iPad, you can just easily do work anytime, anywhere. Like for instance, during Chinese New Year, if you want to avoid your dagus asking you a lot of questions and you're feeling antisocial, you can just pull out your iPad and start marking. And the next point, probably one of the biggest benefits of having an iPad, is that writing notes is much easier. So let me demonstrate here. So for example, during my econs lecture, I will just pull out my lecture notes. And then I can start annotating, highlighting, writing, etc. And what's even more cool is that I can hit record here to record what the professor is saying so that I don't miss out anything, and it will automatically sync my notes to the recording, so you can play it back, and if you missed anything that the professor said, you can try to decipher what your notes were saying during that point of time. So cool, right? And also, what if your professor is going so fast, or sometimes, you know, in his lecture slides, he provides additional information that's not inside, like for example, a diagram or anything, but then it's very hard for you to draw and copy so fast. What you can do is just, you know, open up your camera over here and take a picture of the lecture slides and then import it inside, right? So you see, it's so cool. And in the past, I hated drawing mind maps so much because I drew them on paper, and then, you know, if I did something wrongly, I either have to correction tape or cancel them, and then everything would get very messy. But recently, I just found out that actually mind maps are really useful in helping you to learn. And after I got the iPad, drawing mind maps has been so much easier. So for instance, you see the mind map that I have over here. Right, I can, like what I mentioned earlier, I can use useful pictures from my lecture notes and insert it inside here, so I don't need to draw it out myself. And like for instance, when I'm writing something, and I realized, I wrote it in the wrong position, I actually wanted it to be here over instead, I can just circle it and shift it over to the other side. So cool, right? And if I want to erase it, I can just easily erase it. And also, when you write mind maps, you probably like to use different colors. And if you do that physically, you have to use many color pens and then keep switching around. And if you make any mistake, it can look very messy. But on the iPad, you can easily just switch color over here. And what's the most convenient way of doing this is that you can write everything in black first, and after that you can just circle everything and change it to the color that you want. So for instance, after I circled this, and then someone I want to change it to pink color, you can see all the words have changed to pink. And you can also pick different style of papers you want. Like for example, you can pick the grid or the square boxes or the horizontal lines. I usually go for the square boxes because I find that it's neater for me. And also you can pick different paper colors also. And if you want to, add sticky notes, you can just literally import stickies. Additional info. And also if I want to draw a straight line, let me demonstrate on the paper over here. If I want to draw a straight line, ta-da! You see what happened over there? If I draw it on paper, I have to, use a ruler to make sure that the line is straight. But then on the iPad, I can just draw and hold, and it will draw a straight line for me. Or if I want to draw a circle, sorry, that's the oval, it will make the oval shape for me. If I want to draw a triangle, it will make a triangle shape for me. And if you don't like your own handwriting, you can even convert your handwriting to text. Okay, I didn't detect by writing pi because pi is a mathematical symbol, but it works quite well. And you can easily control F your notes. So for example, you recall writing something about consumer optimization in your notes, but then you don't exactly remember what was it about and you want to search it up. So what you can do is just to type here consumer optimization, and it will bring you to the notes where you wrote this word. And ta-da! It can detect your handwriting and tell you exactly which notes this is from. Also, I find that having an iPad helps you to stay organized much easier. So for example, if you got problem sets to do, like my major econs, like I can't imagine doing them on paper because you have to file them and ensure that you don't lose them. So do you remember the days back in primary and secondary school days where all our homework were done on physical copies and then we had to file them and ensure that we can find them easily, but then we lose them and then we have to give lousy excuse to the teacher like, oh, my dog ate my homework. But with the iPad, all this issue is gone. So for example, you can see here, I can easily organize my notes according to different modules. And if you look inside this econs module, I have organized it according to lecture notes and tutorials. So every time I want to do a new problem set, I just add it in here. And if I want to open up lecture notes and do some revision, I can just open it up easily. Right, no longer do I have to spend time trying to search through my bag for all the different papers. So earlier, I talked about how you can bring your iPad to lectures and annotate your lecture notes. But what if for certain lectures, typing is actually much faster than writing? Not to worry, because you can actually connect a keyboard to your iPad. And ta-da, you can start typing. So for instance, for certain lectures, I prefer to type, and for certain lectures, I prefer to write. And what's even more cool is that you can even connect a mouse to your iPad so it can function like a real laptop. And this last point is especially for those who are very environmentally friendly. Now that you are using an iPad, you are cutting down the need to cut down trees for papers. And if I want to write more things, I can just easily add a paper forever without having to worry about harming the environment. Alright, we have finished talking about all the benefits of having an iPad, but I know that some of you might still have concerns, so we are going to address them now. I believe that the concern that everyone has on the top of their mind is regarding the price, and that is totally understandable. But do you know that Apple actually gives a student discount of around $150 and even give you a free pair of AirPods? Like, whoa, back in my time when I bought the iPad, Apple gave out Beats, which is very good also lah. But I wanted an AirPods, and I even went to, spend close to $300 to purchase it. So you guys are very lucky. Plus, there are different kinds of iPads that you can get. The cheapest is the iPad at around $499, followed by the iPad Air at around $809, and then lastly the iPad Pro, the top tier one, $1,129. So you can actually pick the iPad that you can afford. Which iPad would I recommend personally? The iPad Air, but more about that in the later section of this video. And I understand that for those who come from less well-to-do family, you might not actually be able to afford the iPad. So what I recommend is that you can actually apply for financial aid in school, which is what I did and which is what allowed me to be able to afford the iPad. And some of you might be concerned about losing the feel of writing on paper, and that was my concern at the start also. But eventually, I managed to get used to writing on the iPad just after a few days, and now I love writing on my iPad so much. You can even get a paper-like protector so that it feels like you're writing on a paper. And some of you might be asking, what if I lose everything on my iPad? I think that should be the least of your concern because you can back up everything to iCloud or Google Drive, and writing on papers is much worse instead because if you accidentally spill water on your papers or your dog bite your papers, or if you lose them, then it's gone forever. But on the iPad, at least you can have a backup, and on Google Drive, it will be there forever. So which iPad would I recommend you to get? The iPad, iPad Air, or iPad Pro? Personally, I would recommend the iPad Air because it has a faster speed than the iPad, and we are going to use it in the long term for around 3 to 4 years. Plus, now the iPad Air supports second generation Apple Pencil, which means you can just double tap on your pencil to erase instead of having to click the erase button. Also, now they have designed the iPad Air to look like the iPad Pro, so there's no more irritating white flat bezels around, which was not a feature for me when I bought it back in 2019. So why do I not recommend the iPad Pro? Like, I believe that you go on YouTube and then you see many YouTubers flexing their iPad Pro and it looks very cool and all. But actually, for the most of us, unless you are a professional filmmaker or like a professional graphic designer, most of us actually don't need to use the better processing powers that comes with the iPad Pro. The iPad Air is more than good enough, and we can save on that $300. So after purchasing the iPad Air, you still need to get your Apple Pencil, otherwise it defeats the purpose of having an iPad. And there's other alternatives as well, but I just bought the Apple Pencil because it fits the iPad the best, because it's my Apple. Yeah, and also for the casing, I recommend getting a keyboard kind of casing, so you can attach it and use it like a laptop, and then it protects your iPad as well. But of course, you can always get a normal kind of casing that you find outside from other stores that cost around $50, I believe. But of course, getting the iPad is also more than good enough. Just that you won't get the AirPods if I'm not wrong. But if you want to have an affordable option and you don't mind not having the AirPods, then go for it. And I know after talking so much until I'm very thirsty, some of you are still thinking whether to get the iPad or not. Oh, let me drink some coffee. But if you think about it, the benefits outweigh the cost in the long run. Like, you can use it to up to 4 years in your university, and actually even longer than that because Apple products are known to last for more than 4 years. If you split the cost of $1,000 by 4 years of your uni, that will be paying around $250 per year, and if you divide it by 365 days per year, that will be paying just around 68 cents per day. So it's definitely a very worthy investment. Plus, with the iPad, you can actually purchase e-textbooks instead of physical copies of textbook, which is much cheaper, right? Because physical copies of textbook cost around $100 or more, but e-copy is usually much cheaper than that. And also, you save money on having to print papers, having to buy pens, correction tapes, notebooks, and other kinds of foolscap papers. But of course, if you really cannot afford, or you just don't feel like having it, not to worry, you can still continue to use your laptops or traditional ways of having notebooks to take notes. Just that the iPad enhances your uni experience, but it's still doable. And so, if you want to enhance yourself and learn to become a better version of yourself, then join the universe and click the subscribe button down below. Also, remember to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you and bye!